ecstatic, so beautiful. You can only imagine. When you touch Krishna, you are blissful just remembering that wonderful moment. So everybody in Vrindavan is so eager just thinking about Krishna. And actually when Krishna touches them, now Krishna is the ability to be in any part of Vrindavan at any amount of time. And he is running there and he touches the tree. Now once he touches the tree, then Krishna is now running back, right? Now, whoever wins, for example, Balaram's team wins and Krishna's team loses. Now, Krishna's team has to carry Balaram's team one by one, each one carry one, and they have to walk. Now, what is happening here is that Krishna is carrying the Gopas. That could be you. And Krishna in the spiritual world, can you imagine? God is carrying you, Krishna is carrying you, and the wonderful touch of Krishna personally carrying a devotee. And the devotee is enjoying that spiritual interaction with Krishna. He is serving Krishna, and Krishna loves this. So this is the most beautiful thing that is happening in Vaikuntha. And you are a part of it. You are a part of this spiritual experience of Krishna, being in the spiritual world. And on top of it, when the Gopabalas are wanting to play with Krishna, now Krishna gives them a wonderful opportunity by which they can play with them. They bring all these tiffins, they sit for lunch, and all of them are sitting around, and then they are all distributing. They want Krishna to take a bite from their tiffin, and Krishna is lovingly putting them. Krishna is first feeding them. So Krishna is closing his eyes, and the Gopas are saying, Krishna, close your eyes, we'll put this wonderful thing in your mouth. Can you taste and tell what it is? And when Krishna closes his eyes, they are about to put that peda into his mouth. What they are doing is that they are putting some leaf or some grass into his mouth, and they are all laughing. So this is the beauty that you experience in the spiritual world, and this is not for 1 day or 2 days. This is eternal. Eternally you are in the spiritual world just playing with Krishna. Now when Krishna and Arjuna are talking about the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, they are talking about spiritual life, and they are talking about horrible death in the material world. Krishna is showing the other side. You are not seeing the other side, Arjuna. That is the beautiful spiritual world. That is the beautiful Vaikuntha. Now in the Vaikuntha planets, you are unable to see, you are unable to find out what is the you are not able to see that side. You are not able to see that side of the spiritual world. So therefore Krishna is telling Arjuna that one should be intelligent. So this is Krishna calls as Buddhi Yoga in the second chapter. Now I want to explain this. What is this Buddhi? And I want to explain to you that where you will go. Now Buddhi means to be able to see with intelligence. Now to see with intelligence is, I am the spirit soul. I am not this body. All right. Now with intelligence, we should be able to see that we are not this body. We are the spirit souls. And what does spirit soul do? Now let me open today's PowerPoint. Now I'm using from today onwards Google Hangout, and we are actually able to project the PowerPoint live also along with the so I can use the screen share option, and I would like you to see this. Now here, if you see, there is the Vaikuntha, description of Vaikuntha, and in Vaikuntha, as you can see in the second slide that I'm showing in the slides here, is that there is variety. There is variety of spiritual planets. there is variety of spiritual planets, and these spiritual planets that you see, variety of spiritual planets, the most beautiful is Krishna in the Goloka Vrindavana. So Krishna in the Goloka Vrindavana is in the middle, in the wall, and around that, if you see, there are so many other planets. Now each one is unlimited. Each one is unlimited. Each planet is actually unlimited. Now, each planet is unlimited in size, and it has one form of Lord Vishnu. I tried to explain this last week. Now, this unlimited form of the Lord, this unlimited forms of Krishna, now a devotee is free which spiritual planet he wants to go to. He can go to Goloka Vrindavana. He can go to Krishna in the form of Lord Narsimha. He can go to the planet of Lord Ram. He can go to any particular planet. He can actually go to any particular planet, and he can serve the Lord in that form. And he will be perfectly satisfied. Just like we want to drink coffee. So where do we go? Or we go to Starbucks, or we go to some gas station, or we go to something. And we go somewhere, here and there we go, and we try to taste some variety according to our propensity. Now we want coffee and we go here and there. So similarly, we can go to other planets. We can go to other planetary, the spiritual planets of the in Vaikuntha, and we can taste the nectar of the interaction with the Lord. Now, I'm sorry. I'm extremely sorry. Now, the soul has a spiritual form. The important thing here to note is the soul has a spiritual form. Now, in the spiritual form, in the spiritual world, as we can see, in the spiritual world, we have the Lord and his devotees in the spiritual world. There is the Lord and his devotees in the spiritual world. Now, in the spiritual world, there is Vaikuntha, and the soul, you, me, all of us who go to spiritual world, we get a spiritual body. It could be a two-handed form, it could be a four-handed form, it could be a woman, it could be a man, it could be anything. But understand, there is one primary form. But you can become anything. You can take any spiritual form. You have one form, and then you can take up any spiritual form. That's the variety in the spiritual world. There is one form, and then you can take up any spiritual form. Now, I would like to read some description of Vaikuntha. Now, how does Lord look like in Vaikuntha, in the spiritual world? Now, in the spiritual world, is full of beautiful trees called as Kalpavriksha, Divya Kalpataru Rupo Shobhite. The central area where the Lord is seated is surrounded by innumerable gardens, which are playground for Vaikunthanatha and his consorts. So Lakshmi and Narayana, they play in these beautiful gardens. So Krishna is playing hide and seek, Krishna is playing with Lakshmis. It is very vast, unlimited. In such a residence resides the Lord of Vaikuntha. The hall of audience of the Lord is studded with beautiful varieties of gems, and there is a special hall. It is bright and effulgent with innumerable pillars of precious stones. So can you imagine, there is the Lord's hall in Vaikuntha is surrounded by innumerable precious stones. Innumerable precious stones. And on top of it, the Lord has such a beautiful, the Lord looks so beautiful. Now, unlimited diamonds, jewels, which can give you, they are chintamani, means you think and you will get anything. Can you imagine? Each stone can give you anything you ask for, and the Lord's spiritual world is surrounded heaps and heaps of these. So there is nothing short. And the second thing is, the spiritual body is meant for enjoyment. Our material body is meant for suffering, but the spiritual body is meant for enjoyment. If you see, the souls in the spiritual world, they have everything provided. Now, if you can have this gem, they also have a Vaikuntha Vimana. They have gardens, they have houses, they have everything so beautiful. So why not always think of going back to the spiritual world? So there are many sporting hills in the spiritual world, but some gardens are exclusively reserved for the Lord and his consorts. Some are only for his consorts, and some are for other residents of Vaikuntha. So, all the gardens are full of sweet and beautiful singing birds like parrots, cuckoos, white swans, and colorful peacocks. The tanks, ponds, and lakes surrounding the Divya Mandapa are also very beautiful. The steps leading to those water resources are studded with pearls, corals, and other gems. The water in these tanks and lakes are also like Amrita. So in that Divya Mandapa, the Lord is seated on Adi Shesha. So the flower bedecked Mandapa gives great bliss. It is absolutely comfortable. It is filled with divine music by the humming of the bees, which are happily sucking the honey from the variety of flowers. Now, if you see here, I would like to give you a brief story of the Kumaras, the story of the Kumaras. Now, when we talk about the story of the Kumaras, it is very, very beautiful actually. Now, in the story of the Kumaras, um, we see that the Kumaras are the sons of Brahma. They are the sons of Brahma. Now, the sons of Brahma, or the Kumaras, the Chatur Kumaras that you see, they are actually um, very special. As soon as they were born, as soon as they were born, they were they told Brahma, you see those four Kumaras there, they told Brahma that they do not want to grow up. They do not want to grow up because they wanted to remain small. And because if they grow up, they thought we will be attracted to women. Maya is very strong. We want to remain like kids and not get attracted to the opposite sex. We want to remain brahmacharis. So the four Kumaras were very, very, very intelligent. They were great tapasvis, and they were not attracted to anything material. Imagine, they are sons of Brahma, means they have all the siddhis, that Brahmaji has, everything. They have all the possessions of their father. So they have so much siddhi. And here, the four Kumaras are not attracted to anything material. However, being in Brahmaloka, and because they were in transcendental meditation, they could smell from the lotus feet of the Lord the tulasi which is offered to the lotus feet of Krishna. So they could actually feel that. They could actually smell that. They could actually smell the tulasi from the lotus feet of Krishna. So when they smelled the tulasi from the lotus feet of Krishna, the Chaturkumaras became very attracted to Lord Vishnu. They became very attracted to Lord Vishnu. So they became very attracted, and what the Chaturkumaras did was they followed the smell all the way up to Vaikuntha. They followed the smell all the way up to Vaikuntha. And they crossed the 7 gates. There are 7 gates which lead to Vaikuntha. They crossed all the 7 gates. And when they went to the 7th gate, they saw there were Jay and Vijay standing, the doorkeepers of Vaikuntha. So they were the doorkeepers of Vaikuntha, and what happened was they were stopped by these gatekeepers of Vaikuntha. The gatekeepers of Vaikuntha, they thought that so the gatekeepers of Vaikuntha thought that these are ordinary humans, not yet purified, so they do not have the right to get into Vaikuntha. So the doorkeepers, Jay and Vijay, they blocked the Chaturkumaras. Now the Lord immediately got involved. He came to Jay and Vijay, and he said, and he told them, do not stop these. But by the time the Lord had come, the Chaturkumaras were already upset, and they cursed this Jay and Vijay, and they had to fall down and take 3 birds, Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, and the second one was actually Ravana and Kumbhakarna. So we see that even Vaikuntha Vasi, so what I want to give with this example is that although we are all in the material world, but Vaikuntha can be achieved even from within this material world, that you can reach the spiritual planet and you can reach the spiritual level even being within this material body. So do not delay. Vaikuntha is so special, Vaikuntha is so beautiful, that and the residents are so wonderful, that the devotees of the Lord in Vaikuntha, they are so welcoming actually. But sometimes even great personalities, when they come here, so the Lord personally came and he begged forgiveness from the Chaturkumaras that the gatekeepers had stopped them. So it is said, when you go to the spiritual world, the Lord personally comes to welcome you sometimes, but mostly the Lord comes to welcome you. But sometimes these kind of disturbances. So the point is, being in the material world, one can become a powerful devotee, as powerful a devotee as a devotee in Vaikuntha. So even though you are in the material world, even though we are suffering right now, we should always understand that we are in a very, very powerful position. And to be in the movement of Lord Chaitanya, to become a devotee of Lord Chaitanya, we are actually very, very special. So the process, the more seriously we take this process of bhakti, you can be in Vaikuntha right now, right then and there. So when you chant the holy name of Krishna 16 rounds, when you take up this spiritual process very, very seriously, one can actually be in Vaikuntha consciousness. One can actually be in spiritual consciousness, and one can attain the spiritual world immediately. So this is the power. This is the power of bhakti. So that when a devotee from the material world also goes to the spiritual world, the Lord has to personally take care and see that that devotee is happy. So that is the power of Vaikuntha. So that is the power of the spiritual world. So now we have to see here uh, here that one more thing I would like to add is that the spiritual world, if we go below into the next slide, there are different levels in the spiritual world also. So I would like to share the screen with you again. So in the spiritual world also there is variety. Now this variety depends upon the level of bhakti. So in the Vaikuntha planets, there is a certain level of bhakti in which you are a servant of the Lord, in which you see. So what are your duties? As you saw the picture where the Lord is sitting on the throne and they are singing Kaushalya Shupraja Rama Purva Sandhya Pravartate Uttishta. So there is a formal bhakti, but they are also pure devotees. So they come on an aeroplane, they wake up the Lord, they shower the Lord with flowers, they dance for the Lord, they wake up the Lord, they do abhishekam, they do varieties of service to Lakshmi and Narayana. So this is called as Dasya Bhava. The relationship is very formal, but it is still pure and beautiful. As you go higher, like in the planet of Lord Ram, so there is also Dasya Bhava. There, Hanuman and all the other devotees of the Lord, they are welcoming the Lord into their house. They are going to the kingdom. They are going to the, palace of the Lord. They are offering prayers. They are offering puja. They are offering such wonderful love to the Lord. So this Vaikuntha, this planet of Lord Ram, called as Sakik, in which the Lord has hands which are green, which are beautiful, and the Lord is accepting it from his devotees with great love and devotion. For example, you see in the Ramayana that Shabari is offering the half-eaten berries to the Lord, and the Lord is eating those berries. So the Lord accepts anything that is given with love. So you can imagine only in Vaikuntha, where everybody is filled with love, every moment everybody is doing some loving service to the Lord. How and there is unlimited variety. You cannot even think about it. You cannot even think about the unlimited variety. For example, yesterday I was watching the news and suddenly I saw this Vaga border. There was a bomb blast, right? So there was in Vaga border. And then I saw that I was just curious, what happens in this Vaga border. And I saw the video that every day there is this drama where Indian soldiers come, Pakistani soldiers come, they lift their legs and this and that, and everybody shows off. So this, I could not even imagine that they can make such a tamasha or such a joke out of the closing of the flags, right? So you can only imagine that in every place in the material world there is so much variety. You go to Punjab, there is so much variety of food, so much variety of people, so much variety of this. You go to Haryana, it's different. Or you go to North Carolina, it's different kind of people, the way it is. You see, you go to like California, the climate is different, the way the people live is different. You go to the East Coast, the way people live is different. Every city has something special. So if there can be so much variety in the material world, why cannot be there variety in the spiritual world? Variety of moods, variety of setup, variety of interactions with the Lord. Similarly, if you go to Dwaraka, the Lord has 16,108 queens. That is when he brings them into the material world, that there he has unlimited. And the Dwaraka, the island is so beautiful. It's again unlimited. He is residing with those queens and everything is prosperous and everything, something special is happening. And we cannot even imagine how this process can go on unlimitedly. We can't imagine. We cannot even imagine. This is just one incident, but it's going on unlimitedly. It's beyond time. So there is no question of time. We cannot imagine something beyond time. How it can be so relishing, because we are all pressured by time. So something that can be beyond time and so beautiful and so wonderful that the beauty never ceases to stop. So if you go to the last slide, which I want to show you, in the different leelas in Goloka Vrindavana. So in Goloka Vrindavana, there are these different leelas, right? So you can see here, there is a beautiful picture in which the Lord is is first on the top. You see, the Lord is performing the Rasa Leela. That is the topmost variety of activity in the spiritual world. So Krishna is performing Madhurya Leela with the gopis. What is he doing? He's kissing them, he's holding them, he's dancing with them. And it is said that in Rasa Leela, you can see Krishna with each gopi. Actually, it is said there is only one Krishna, but he moves so fast. But he moves so fast in that each gopi is thinking Krishna is with me. He's moving so fast, and they have such wonderful feelings and love for Krishna, that each gopi is feeling such beauty and such, and they are at the same time. Krishna is so fast. He is with all the gopis all the time. He can dance. He's so special. If we think, we see some lover, he's running around between two girlfriends trying to satisfy both. So the origin of that is actually Krishna. So Krishna is running around between all these different gopis. He's trying to enjoy, and then he's producing such variety there. And with each gopi, he's having one kind of romance, and here he's just the original, wonderful beauty and lover is Krishna. He is the original. And all these movies in the material world we see, everyone is trying to imitate Krishna actually. And what we are also trying to see, all these romance, action, thriller, drama, suspense. Where does the soul get attracted to all this? You read Krishna Leela, there is romance, there is Krishna with the gopis. There is war, there is Mahabharata. Can you imagine? There is the nuclear weapons. There is 640 million soldiers killed in 18 days. You can only imagine how fierce the war was. There are nuclear bombs, there is radiation, entire destruction. Suspense. If you see the whole of Mahabharata, it's completely suspense. The Pandavas create such a beautiful kingdom. Very next day they lose. They go out for 12 years. Then the 13th year, the Kauravas come searching for them. Then finally there is a war, So it is a thriller, it's a suspense. So it is so wonderful. So action, drama, thriller, suspense, it's all in Krishna Lila. It is all in Goloka Vrindavana. What else do you want? So that is what Krishna is telling to Arjuna in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, that Krishna, that any soul who is performing any duty, anybody who is doing anything in this world, worshipping anything, worshipping any god, ultimately, if he does not aim for Vaikuntha, ultimately, if he does not get attracted to Vaikuntha, what is the use of such a life? What is the use of such a life? So that is the main thing here. We have to understand that Krishna is explaining about the different leelas in the, the different leelas in Goloka Vrindavana is so wonderful for us to understand. So now we have to understand one more thing. I will now go on back to the second chapter where we left off, and we will try to understand what Krishna is actually trying to tell Arjuna about this attraction to Vaikuntha. Why is he asking him to control the senses? Coming back to where we had left off. So if you see, Krishna is saying here, we had left off at verse 42-43, where he is saying that men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, resultant good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification, opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this. Now let's go to the next. Now, text 44, second chapter, Krishna is saying, Bhogeshwarya prasaktanam taya apahrata chetasam vyavasayatmika buddhir samadhav na vidhiyate. So Krishna is saying here that In the minds of those who are attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and those who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination of devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. Now, if you have clearly understood the description of Vaikuntha, if you have clearly understood the description of Vaikuntha and how it is so wonderful, how this Vaikuntha is so beautiful, if you really try to understand what Krishna is trying to say here, the beauty of Vaikuntha, the wonderful nature of Vaikuntha, Krishna is asking us to control our mind and senses and get attracted to the spiritual world. If our mind is attracted to material enjoyment, if our mind is attracted to material enjoyment, then what happens is that our mind does not get attracted to Krishna, does not get attracted to spiritual life. Now, if that is the case, then the resoluteness, I may go to the spiritual world, I may not go to the spiritual world, you know. So, therefore, I may go to the spiritual world, I may not go to the spiritual world. I may be interested in the spiritual world, I may not be interested in the spiritual world. So, because these things become very prominent in our minds, that I have to enjoy this material world. What if I don't enjoy? What if I don't get attracted, don't get a full value of my material enjoyment? If we are caught up in these thoughts, and when our mind is focused on material enjoyment, can you remember, if you remember the story of Jada Bharata? Now, Jada Bharata was completely attracted to this deer, and he was in the bhava stage of spiritual development. He was in the bhava stage. Now, when he was in the bhava stage of spiritual development, from that point he gets attracted to a deer, and he actually loses his spiritual quest. Even from that point, even from that point, if he can fall down, now we are not even attracted to Krishna, we have not even reached any higher stage. So Krishna is telling us, hey, look at the variety in this spiritual world. Look at the spiritual variety, look at the spiritual strength. And why don't you just control your senses, control your mind, and fix your goal that I want to go there to achieve unlimited spiritual life. So last week we talked about sense control, how to control sex life, how to control the mind, all these things. This is what we spoke last week. That was kind of a withdrawal from the material world. But this time we are speaking how to enjoy the spiritual variety, because ultimately the soul wants to enjoy, the soul wants to be in bliss. Now, this spiritual bliss can only be achieved when you are in Krishna's complete shelter. When you are in this spiritual world, that's when you get your real spiritual senses. Here, no matter what you do, but remember, a Jivan Mukta stage, as I told earlier with the story of the four Kumaras, a Jivan Mukta stage can be achieved right now. So why delay? In Hindi they say, Kal kare so aaj kare so ab. So what you are supposed to do, what you are supposed to do, what you are planning to do in the future, why not do it today? And what you are trying to do today, why not do it right now? So remembering Krishna, of course, one has to be very, very systematic. One has to be very, very systematic in his life. And once one becomes systematic and properly well situated, then you will become happy. So one has to be very systematic in one's chanting. One has to be very systematic in his spiritual life. And then he can achieve anything actually. So to achieve this anything in spiritual life, one has to practice spiritual life in a stepwise, in a proper format. So to do that proper format, you need proper guidance. So one needs to have a proper guru. So now what Krishna says further. Now let's see what Krishna has to tell us further. So here is the next option. So the next shloka, so we read the 44th. Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna Nirdvandvam Nitya Sattvastho Niryoga Kshema Atmavan. The Vedas mainly deal with the subject of the three modes of material nature. Rise above the three modes, O Arjuna. Be transcendental to all of them. Be free from all dualities and from all gains, from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self. So Krishna is saying, everybody in this material world is stressed out. What's going to happen to me? Where is my insurance? Where is my protection? Where is my this? Where is my that? So we have so many things. We need to have that. One needs to be intelligent in both. One needs to have a proper material management, but that is not all. The material management is not all. There is also spiritual management. So spiritual management means to actually manage spiritual life. So there is spiritual life. One needs, everybody says we don't have time. Everybody is so busy just trying to maintain himself. One needs to find proper time. One needs to find proper time to actually understand and cultivate spiritual life. One needs to find proper time and one needs to give proper time. Find and give that proper time to spiritual life every day. Otherwise, if we are not strict, if we are not consistent, if we are not properly situated, then the wind of material enjoyment, I was reading spiritual bhakti is like a wave. So one wave is followed by another wave. Material enjoyment is also like a wave. So once you enjoy something, for example, you eat a lot of ice cream. Now that is followed up by there is high sugar content. So you get some side effects of sugar. Plus it's very cold. So your body gets cold. It becomes prone to kind of cold and other things. So you can see that one wave is followed by another wave and these waves just sweep you away. These waves just sweep you away. So therefore, we have to understand that these waves of material enjoyment, so similarly, these Vedas are simply a disturbance. If one does not understand that everything is meant for spiritual cultivation, and if we don't actually do that spiritual cultivation, we are losing out so much. So, the next shloka is even special. Yavanartha udapane sarvatah samplutodake tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijanatah. All purposes that are served by the small pond can at once be served by the great reservoirs of water. Similarly, all the purposes of the Veda can be served by one who knows the purpose behind them. So the point is, all the ponds, all purposes that are served by a small pond. So if there is a lot of small ponds from which you are taking out water, if I have a big reservoir of water, it can serve the same purpose. So instead of many small ponds, I have a big reservoir, my water requirements are met. However, similarly, there are Vedas, they fulfill this, they fulfill that. Putra Kameshti Yagya, you get a son. You do this, you get that. You do this, you get this benefit. You do this, you get this benefit. So like this in Vedas, there are many varieties of benefits that are explained. You do Vastu, you do this, you do astrology, you do blah, blah, blah. But Krishna is saying that one who knows the purpose behind the Veda is to actually worship Krishna. If you worship Krishna, everything else is achieved. So if Veda is meant for a certain purpose, if you understand the purpose, not the ritual, but if you understand the purpose, why do you want to have a son? Why do you want to have a proper family life? Because at the end of this life, you want to actually go back to the spiritual world. You want to finish off your material obligation peacefully and nicely so that you can remember Krishna. So the ultimate point is, somehow or the other, you should remember Krishna. Whether you led a prosperous life, happy life, or whether you led a miserable life. Ultimately, if you remember Krishna, then it is successful. However, you need to do this remembrance on a regular basis. You cannot just get the remembrance, boom, pow. No, it doesn't come like boom. No, remembrance comes as you build up this remembrance on a daily basis. So if you regularly, properly practice bhakti, practice spiritual life, then this remembrance will actually come automatically. So that should be our main purpose, that we should get this remembrance of Krishna in at the right time. And when is that? Janmalabha parapumsa ante narayana smritihi. When we are about to die, Janmalabha parapumsa. So when this we have pumsa, people have got human form of life, Janmalabha parapumsa. So when this labha is there, this human life is there, ante narayana smriti. So at the end of life, when we are about to die, so this remembrance should come. So the death to the spiritual world, and spiritual world is of so much variety, and if we miss out on that, so death is something phenomenal. Death is something which can take you, which can remove all the miseries of this life altogether, can completely take you to the spiritual world, can take completely end all your miseries in one lifetime. So who in this planet, who in this universe is not willing to actually take this risk, or whatever it takes to take up spiritual life? So Krishna is saying ultimately the purpose behind the Vedas is actually to know Krishna and worship him, surrender unto him, and to go back to the spiritual world. So if you understand that purpose, then your Vedas is complete. But if I stick on to Veda, then you are not understanding the purpose behind the Veda. So many people do some kind of worship. Oh, on this day we have to do this. On this day, on Monday I'm fasting. On Tuesday I'm fasting, or I'm fasting on Sunday. So many people have certain days of fasting, certain days of certain rituals. But all these rituals are fine, provided you remember Krishna. If you are not able to remember Krishna, despite following that ritual, what is the use of that ritual? So ultimately, any ritual that you do, whatever you may do, whatever you may follow, everything has to be Krishna conscious. Everything has to become offered to Krishna. If at the end of every Vedic ritual we say Atha Shri Krishnarpanamastu, means it should be offered to Krishna. So if it is offered to Krishna, then that ritual becomes successful. Otherwise that ritual does not become successful. So our request to all of you is, please understand the purpose behind everything of this Vedanta is actually to serve Krishna, is actually to surrender unto Krishna. And if we do that, our life will correctly become successful. I'm sorry. We will end here today. And if anybody has any questions or comments, you are free to chat. Those who are on the um, live broadcast, or those who are on the phone can speak up and ask any question. So if any questions, please come forward. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. On the phone, does anybody have any questions? If not, then we'll stop here. So thank you very much, and we will see you all next week. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Ganesai.
So there is a question here from Tina Mataji. I wanted to ask, Krishna consciousness means chanting the holy mantra. Uh, Krishna consciousness means an overall lifestyle. So basically, Krishna consciousness means to actually surrender unto Krishna. Now, surrender involves 9 processes: Shravanam, hearing, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, uh, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedanam. So, you chant for Krishna. Chanting the holy name is the first step. So, as we can see, chanting the holy name is the first step. Then the second thing is smaranam, remembering. So when you chant the holy name, so for example, you are chanting and you are hearing. So you are hearing this class. So when you chant the holy name and you hear the name of Krishna, so then you become what do you call it? So that is the first step. So when you actually hear the Krishna conscious Krishna, chanting the holy name. So what happens is when you chant the holy name, you get his remembrance, smaranam, pada sevanam, archanam, vandanam, dasyam. So you cooking. So next thing is most important thing we do in our life is we eat. So whatever we cook, we offer it to Krishna. That will be a very big sacrifice. So whatever you cook, you offer it to Krishna. So you chant, you hear, you cook, you offer it to Krishna and eat, and then you offer it to devotees. So next thing is also preaching. So the best meditation is how to bring anybody to the service of Krishna, how to engage mind and senses in the service of Krishna. Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedanam. Taking initiation from a guru, serving the guru, taking the blessings of senior devotees, serving senior devotees, inviting devotees for lunch, doing a kirtan program, association of devotees, reading books, chanting the holy name, and eating prasadam. So these are the 4 practical ways: association of devotees, going to some regular programs or going to visit some temple. B is books, reading books on a regular basis that improves your meditation, chanting the holy name, and diet, eating prasadam, and also serving prasadam, offering everything to the devotees of Krishna. If you follow these things on a regular basis, then definitely your Krishna consciousness will improve over a period of time. It's a slow but a steady process, and if you keep it steady and consistent, you will definitely do. But chanting, of course, is the core of this activity. So if you chant on a regular basis, all the other things will follow through. So that is the most important. So meditation means whatever you do, you offer it to Krishna. So in brief, we should follow uh, A, B, C, D, as I said. So A is association, uh, B is books. I'm just typing this out so everybody can get it. C is chanting, and D is diet, prasad. So if we do this, then definitely uh, in every sphere of our life, we are inculcating Krishna consciousness, and we will definitely become successful. So in all spheres of life. Right? So we stop watching unwanted things on television. We stop going out and just hanging around with friends unnecessarily, and we try to develop this, spiritual cultivation in all spheres. So I hope, Tina Mataji, that answers your question. Please let me know. Um, so if there are any other questions or comments, please let me know. So I will stop here, and I thank everybody for attending this class. And please encourage your friends. You can forward this your Bhagavad Gita email to your friends and colleagues or anybody, and and anybody who is interested, and we can improve this Bhagavad Gita. And just by trying to help others, this increases our meditation. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.